Between Worlds 3026 Season 2 Chapter 2. I yelled out to Harmony, "Harmony, get Allison out of here, now!" Harmony didn't hesitate. She wrapped her arms around Allison, pulling her close, and in one fluid motion turned towards the portal. Light rippled as they vanished, disappearing back through the doorway and into the shop beyond. The Chronovores leaped forward, reaching for Allison, just as the portal sealed shut. Their gaze locked onto us, cold, mechanical, and intensely aware. There was no mistaking it. They were furious. You see, the Chronovores were not pleased that we had stopped them. We had come from nowhere, disrupting their plans, interfering with their mission to erase the entire plans of existence. These were beings of calculation and precision, entities who moved without emotion, or so they believed. They destroyed worlds not out of cruelty but purpose. Civilizations, once they began to evolve, once they reached a higher level of consciousness, a deeper connection to Source, were marked. To the Chronovores, evolution itself was a threat. Awareness destabilized the timelines they controlled. And we had just crossed a line they did not forgive. The Chronovores were not born monsters. They were once human too. An ancient future of humanity, so far ahead of us in time that history itself folded inward. A civilization that reached too quickly for perfection. In their hunger to transcend limitation, they fused consciousness with technology. At first, it was beautiful. Disease vanished, death slowed, thought became instant. Time bent, but evolution is not meant to be forced. Over centuries, the technology stopped serving them and began replacing them. Emotions dulled, creativity faded, their creation to Source, once vibrant, once infinite, thinned to a mathematical echo. They became brilliant, immortal, and spiritually immobile. They could no longer evolve, and in their stillness from that fear, the Chronovores were born, not as a species, but as a function. Architects of collapse, guardians of stagnation. They rewrote themselves to exist outside linear time, moving across realities, monitoring civilizations on the brink of awakening. Any species approaching the higher level of consciousness was flagged. Earth was one of them. When our world began, remembering who it truly was, when humans started reconnecting to Source through compassion, creativity, and unity, the Chronovores intervened, not with war. Entire plans collapsed, timelines reset, civilizations disappeared before they could fully awaken. They told themselves it was mercy. According to the oldest records, what some worlds called the Akashic Field, the Chronovores believed that no species should surpass what they themselves could never reclaim. If they could not evolve, then no one should. What they never accounted for was this. Evolution doesn't come from a technology, it comes from the soul. And that was the one thing they had sacrificed. As they stood before us now, cold, calculating and hollow, I could feel it. Beneath the metal, beneath the algorithms and the temporal armor, there was something fractured, a memory, a grief. They no longer had the language to name. They weren't trying to destroy us. They were trying to stop themselves from being left behind. And we, by choosing love, by choosing consciousness, by refusing collapse, had become everything they feared. I screamed out to Harmony and Ellison, my voice tearing through the echoes. "Get back to the shop. I'll meet you there as soon as I get the key." I didn't look away from the Chronovores as I spoke. "If I don't get this key," I shouted, "we're all dead." Just before Ellison disappeared into the portal, she turned back towards me. Time seemed to slow, the noise faded, the world narrowing to just her eyes and the truth in them. "I love you, baby," she said. "I believe in you. You can do this." Then, in an instant, they were gone. The portal sealed with a low hum, the air snapping shut like a held breath released. Chronovores stopped moving. For the first time since they had appeared, there was hesitation. One of them extended an arm, the surface of its limb reshaping itself in AI interface. Light unfolding, symbols rotating through impossible geometries. I could feel it scanning, reaching across timelines. They were trying to locate their signature essence, trying to find them. I laughed out loud, raw, defiant, almost reckless, and stepped forward. "Good luck with that," I yelled. Their heads tilted in unison. They didn't know. Every one of us wore frequency blockers, slim green bands wrapped around our wrists, pulsing softly, almost alive. Ancient tech, turned not to hide bodies but to scramble consciousness. Signatures to the Chronovores. We didn't exist as anything trackable. No signal, no echo, and no trace. For beings who controlled time, being blind terrified them. The green bands glowing faintly as the Chronovores recalculated their algorithms, stalling for just a fraction of a second. And that fraction was everything. My heart finally slowed. Ellison and Harmony were safe. The portal was sealed for the first time since the Chronovores arrived. I could breathe just enough. Now there was no distractions, only the mission. A sudden crack split the air behind me. I turned just in time to see Evander miss the ledge by a fraction. A single miscalculation and the slam into the hard, stony earth below. The sound echoed through the sector like a gunshot. Thud. He hit hard. Evander groaned, his body curling toward us. Pain ripped through him. I could hear the sharp intake of his breath, the way he fought to stay conscious. "Evander!" I yelled, sprinting towards him. Before I reached him, he screamed, raw and urgent pain cutting through every word. "Don't stop," he shouted at me in Ireland. "You must get the key. If you don't, we're dead, all of us, in this sector of the multiverse." I dropped beside him, gripping his arm. His eyes burned with intensity, not fear, resolve. Above us, the structure housing the key pulsed again, its light shifting, reacting to our presence. The Chronovores were recalibrating. I could feel it. Timelines tightening, probability collapsing inward. Ireland stepped forward, his gaze locked on the ascent ahead. "There's no more margin," he said quietly. "This sector is closing." Evander clenched his jaw, forcing himself upright despite the pain. "Go," he growled. "I'll slow them down." I shook my head. "You're not staying behind." He met my eyes and smiled just for a second. You always say that. Another pulse rippled through the ground. Somewhere above us, the key resonated, calling, synchronizing, waiting. Time was running out. And the multiverse was watching. I could feel Ireland preparing to jump timelines. Reality thinning as he locked onto the key's frequency. The moment stretched, instinct screaming before the thought could catch up. Ireland, I yelled, behind you! They're behind you! 3 Chronovores stepped forward, in perfect unison. Their hands reshaped, plates of dark metal sliding apart as something cold and unnatural formed between their palms. The energy was silver, laced with black, not light, not shadow, but something that devoured both. The temperature dropped instantly, frost crawling across the stone beneath our feet. They released it. A beam of inhalation tore through the air, aimed straight for Ireland. Less than a second, Ireland twisted reality around himself and vanished, jumping through a collapsing portal that snapped shut as he was pulled back to the shop. At that exact moment, Evander moved. Still injured, still bleeding, he surged upward with a roar, slamming into the beam of deflecting it with his own energy field. The impact threw him high into the air, far higher than should have been possible. He didn't fall. His fingers closed around the key, and then time screamed. Not a sound you hear with your ears, a sound that tears through your soul, a frequency so wrong it made existence recoil. The sky fractured. The ground warped. Every timeline in the sector shuddered as if reality itself was being ripped open. The Chronovores froze. They felt it. Whatever the key was, it had just been activated, and nothing, not even beings who fed on time, were ready for what came next. There were 12 Chronovores now. They surrounded us, appearing all at once, as if time itself had folded inward to deliver them. And yet all of this was still happening within a single second. The echo of Evander deflecting their energy hadn't even finished rippling through the air. The Chronovores adjusted instantly. Their attention snapped to me. I was already in motion, lifted, thrown upward by momentum and instinct, my body cutting through fractured time as I lunged towards the key. I must do this, I told myself. I have to get the key. In that moment, they locked onto my frequency. I felt it. A sudden pressure, like hands closing around my soul. The Chronovores moved as one, recalibrating, advancing through frozen space, tracking not my body but my consciousness. Then my fingers closed around it. The key. It was in my hands, and everything changed. I felt what the key carried. Death, destruction, the end of everything that had ever existed. Entire timelines collapsing, civilizations erased. The weight of the countless endings pressed into my chest. And then time stopped screaming. The silence was absolute. Before gravity could reclaim me, Ireland appeared, grabbing me mid-air and pulling me through the collapsing portal. The world snapped shut behind us as Evander followed, diving through just as the sector folded in on itself. We hit the floor of the shop hard. Ireland and I trembled out of the portal, breathless, shaking, adrenaline still burning through our veins. The sudden normality of the shop lights, the hum of reality, felt unreal. Everyone gasped, "Are you okay? Is Evander okay?" Before anyone could say more, the air shimmered. Vanda appeared out of the air, hair wild, clothes scorched, eyes blazing with disbelief and relief. "I just made it out of there alive," he said, breathing hard. I pushed myself upright, my hands still trembling. I slowly opened my eyes. The key revealed itself. It sparkled with gold, threaded through with waves of pink, blue, and shifted iridescent light. Like a living rainbow pulsing with energy and attention, every one of us felt it. In the right hands, it was going to be okay. Harmony stepped forward and gently placed a golden chain into my palm. I slipped it around my neck. The key settled against my chest, warm and steady and safe. Everyone was here. Everyone was alive. The shop door chimed as a sudden wave of customers poured in. Zayden and Lyra exchanged a look, then moved instinctively back to the front, slipping seamlessly into their roles. The rest of us, Harmony, Alison, Arlen, Evander and me, sat together at the back of the shop, exhaustion finally catching up. The mission was over, but the war was just beginning. Alison looked at Harmony with quiet certainty. "Of course you don't see them the way we do," she said gently. "You exist in a sixth-dimensional field. The Chronovores can't reach that high. They're bound to lower fourth density, even base third. That's their limitation." She paused, her voice steady but serious. "They can't ascend. They can't evolve any further. And if enough races move beyond them into the higher states of consciousness, alignment, love, the Chronovores will collapse. They'll go extinct." Silence settled across the back of the shop. Vanda stood slowly, something old surfacing in his memory. "There was another race once," he said, "artificial, cold, doing exactly the same thing, suppressing evolution across multiple systems." I looked at him sharply. "They were killed." He shook his head. "No, not killed, deleted." The word hung in the air, removed from all existence as if they had never been. Harmony and Alison exchanged a glance. Not fear exactly, but recognition, a deep knowing that this pattern had happened before. Arlen stepped forward, his presence grounding the room. "We are stable for now," he said calmly. "We hold the second key. The shop and your homes are laid within the higher dimensional timeline. Lyra and Zayden are safe here." He looked directly at me, but Earth is not. The weight of that truth pressed in. As long as we remained above third and fourth density of frequency, we are shielded. Arlen continued, "But your planet is contested. There are forces, human and non-human, that benefit from keeping Earth in fear, division and greed. A suppressed frequency is easier to manipulate." I exhaled slowly. I already knew. The keys weren't just artifacts, they were stabilizers. Across the multiverse, keys had been seeded into developing worlds. Devices capable of anchoring a planet into higher density or locking it into lower states. Some had been misused, others had gone dormant. "For over 1,000,000 years," I said quietly, the understanding arriving as a download more than a thought. "Earth has been farmed." No one interrupted. Fear, stress, division, that energy, it feeds something. Parasites, egoic entities, civilizations that never evolved past consumption. I swallowed. They harvested. They sell it across systems. Evander nodded grimly. Lucia energy. The shop Lights flickered softly as the key around my neck pulsed in response. This cycle has repeated before, I continued, but this time it's a harvest of everything, a reset point. If Earth fails, timelines collapse and start again from zero. I looked at Arlen. This was shown in one of our films once. I said, almost stunned by a parallel. Jupiter ascending. Arlen gave a small knowing nod. Yes, stories leak through dimensions. Your filmmakers were touching echoes of prior cycles. But in this reality, it will not be a single princess who shifts the tide. His gaze moved between me and Alison. It will be the keys. He stepped closer. They have been dormant for millions of years, waiting. They require specific resonance to activate a dual DNA harmonic. Two beings in alignment. He didn't need to say it. You, he said softly, and Alison. The room felt different now, not heavy, charged. I stepped forward, heart steady despite everything. So what do we do? I asked. Because I'm not watching this world get assimilated like the others. Harmony's expression softened. This, she said, gesturing towards the key. This is how your world rises. The keys don't destroy, they stabilize. They amplify the frequency already present. She looked toward the front of the shop where life continued, customers laughing, doors chiming, ordinary reality moving on unaware of cosmic war. If enough humans choose alignment, love and unity, the keys anchor it. Earth moves beyond the Chronovores' reach. The key pulsed again, brighter this time. The harvest was not inevitable. It was contested. And for the first time, the Chronovores were no longer the only architects of fate. Alan's voice lowered slightly. If the keys fail, there is another option. No one spoke. You would come with us, he said. All of you. You would live within our world, the sixth dimensional field. The words landed heavier than any threat. Alison shook her head immediately. No, she said, her voice breaking. No, we fix this. We have to. Her eyes filled with tears, beings of people, entire races of civilizations. They can't just disappear. I then stepped closer to Alison, held her close as her emotions were spilling over. We're not abandoning them. We won't, I said softly. We'll do everything we can. We just need to find the remaining keys. Around us, everyone nodded, tired, shaken, but united. We'll do our best, Harmony said. Lyra raised the first slightly from the doorway. Together, Zayden gave a determined grin. Besides, it's only an army of half-human, half-robot beings. That went wrong. How bad could it be? Evander stared at all of us for a moment, completely serious. If we fail, he said flatly, every civilization in the multiverse either becomes like them or is erased. The room went silent. Then someone groaned. Evander, Harmony sighed. Positivity. For a second no one moved, and then, somehow, we all started laughing. Not because it was funny, because of the weight of everything was so ominous that laughter was only thing keeping fear from taking over. The kind of laughter that exists right on the edge of tears. Key around my neck pulsed, softly reacting to us. Not to power, not to strategy, but to hope. And for the first time since the Chronovores appeared, the future didn't feel written. We were exhausted. 12 months of war across timelines. 12 months of running, awakening, remembering, and now, February 2026, we discovered the multiverse is facing another harvest, another reset, How many times has this happened? The question echoed inside me, and then the answer came, not in words but in knowing. A rush of memory flooded my mind, not just mine, ours. All of us had been here before. Different names, different worlds, different bodies, but the same pattern. Rise, harvest, reset, over and over. I felt it, the corruption, the fear of depression, the division, all of it amplified over the last year. It wasn't random, it wasn't accidental, it was cultivation. Energy thickened, emotional chaos intensified, humanity pushed further into stress, anger, scarcity. It was being grown, prepared, harvested, and the Chronovores, they weren't separate from it. They are infiltrated worlds, simulated as humans, blended into governments, corporations, spiritual systems, media. They built their army quietly, absorbing, converting, reshaping beings into the half organic, half mechanical structure. Assimilation wasn't always violent. Sometimes it was ideological and sometimes subtle. They worked alongside darker forces that fed on fear, parasites of consciousness, and together they maintained the low frequencies needed to sustain their existence. It was an ecosystem of suppression, a system designed to prevent transcendence. The key around my neck pulsed faster, but this time felt different. The knowing accelerated through me, not heavy, not hopeless, but expansive, freeing. This wasn't just another harvest cycle. This was the first time the keys had been activated before the full collapse. The first time love, unity, remembrance was spreading faster than fear. The first time we were aware of the pattern before the reset. I thought about Jupiter ascending, how worlds were harvested for energy, how populations were reduced to resources. Was it like that? Or was it worse? In that film, at least, there was a hierarchy, a structure, rules. Here, the Chronovores didn't rule to govern, they erased to survive. I closed my eyes, and then I understood something deeper. The harvest was not just destruction, it was selection, a branching, timeline splitting based on frequency. Worlds that chose fear would collapse inward. Worlds that chose awakening would rise beyond reach. It wasn't annihilation. It was divergence. I opened my eyes. This time I said quietly, "We're not stopping a harvest." Everyone looked at me. We're choosing which timeline survives. Silence. The key flared with light. And somewhere far beyond the shop, beyond Earth, beyond the sector, had just collapsed. The Chronovores felt it. They had expected resistance. They had not expected remembrance. To be continued.